this series in what looked like could have been a Team Liquid victory based on the start that they had, as well as the team composition that they had put together. And that's exactly where I want to start with this game 2 in particular, is that champion select, because Team Liquid secured themselves, once again, that Irelia into Gnar matchup. You've got the Taliyah, who can put a lot of pressure into the lanes, and then you have Sona Lucian into an Ashe Karma. These are winning lanes across the board, essentially.
Right, and I think this really shows like what Team Liquid's strengths are. Is they want to fight you, they want to outlane you, they want to like get big fights with like Dardoch outpathing enemy junglers, things like that, and it's a pretty good comp, minus maybe the taliyah pick, which we'll take a look at a little bit later, but it's definitely a comp that I think CLG really should have 2v1'd, and they end up in standard lanes. Who knows if it was like the double mind game where we're going to go bottom, whatever it was, and you saw them fall behind pretty substantially in terms of CS in multiple lanes, as well as losing turrets initially. So I think it was a little scary for CLG based off just the champ select.
Even with TL's early lead and strong laning for drafting, it still comes down to execution. So we'll just see how it goes.
All right, yeah. Let's stop
beating around the bush.
Well, yeah, let's take a look at some execution then. We had some questions when taliyah was locked in. Mark's immediate response was, I don't know if this is a Team Liquid pick, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if this team knows how to use taliyah properly. Let's take a look. The first opportunity Fenix has to roam top lane, he does so, but he decides to walk as opposed to using his ultimate to create the distance between him and the opposing mid laner.
Right, and this is like the big difference when you saw Bjergsen do this, and it was Froggen who had a cast in. Bjergsen just ulted top as fast as he could to start the dive off. Here, Fenix walks the entire way. The dive is just starting. It's not the cleanest dive, but by the time they killed the Gnar, you know, Fenix is tanking turret, Xmithie's there, HuHi's right behind him. They're going to turn this back for a 1-for-2 when it should have been a really easy dive for Team Liquid, where just ult top, cut off the Gnar, and if he leaves the turret, just take the turret. But they like, I don't know why Fenix had to wait the whole time. I don't know why he messed around in the bush trying to pick off the Cassio instead. Just make the global play with a man advantage. And that's what you should do. And Team Liquid, as we'll see later, is not a team that thinks much about man advantages.
Yeah, very much so.
Oh, yeah, you're going to hear a lot more of that from Mark for this analytical session.
Well, and here's the thing. I mean, so we had some questions about whether, I mean, because taliyah is clear, she has shown that she can be an impactful champion. We've seen many teams use her successfully. This is an example, though, of if you're not actually utilizing the kit for what it's built for or what it's best at, then it can actually turn around and bite you. I do want to push forward, moving to our next replay, 19 minutes in, 5-for-2, CLG here in the top lane once again. Starting off with, okay, he's using the taliyah this time to get into the fight.
Watch Fabbyy's character on the minimap. He's actually just
skill shots.
He's just auto-attacking creeps, and then he finally comes and joins the fight after Fenix is already dead. It was a really uncoordinated fight, and yeah, like Darius was saying, there's so many missed skill shots.
So, yeah, tempo is a really huge thing here, and now that they finally used the taliyah ult first, Fabbbyyy was just kind of attacking creeps, like even now. He did get the karma kill, and they're just kind of split off fighting, where they're just not together.
Right, now we're seeing an ignored Cassiopeia and her DPS output. And that's the thing, this is a champion that, okay, you might be able to beat her in the roams early, which is probably what should have happened from Fenix, and maybe created a larger advantage in that way. But once we get to those more skirmish, full 5-on-5s, 4v4s, whatever they are, we really start to see Cassiopeia shine if she's left alone.
Right, and I think one thing that CLG deserves credit for is it was never like these plays weren't being followed. I mean, you can say maybe TL should have started them earlier and gotten there faster, but at the very least, CLG, as you're on your screen here, they're a very intelligent team. They know what you're trying to do. They have the Irelia and Gnar counter pick. They know that taliyah is going to go top at some point, and they're always following Team Liquid around the map, making sure that they're able to punish Team Liquid's mistakes.
Well, and so they do extend the series to Game 3, discussing what they'll be doing in that third game of the series, but continuing to break down this one, I want to move to our last and final replay here, and this is referencing back to what we were talking about, that man advantage, and sometimes Team Liquid's tendency to go a little too hard. Lourlo opting into the 1v1 against Darshan under his turret goes down. On the other side of the map, they decide it's a good time to engage.
Right, Darshan's just gonna reset and TP in here, right behind Matt. You can kind of see on the left side of your screen. So Dardoch's getting focused down, and the rest of Team Liquid can't help him because there's a TP coming in behind. It's just a terrible fight to pick, and you even see in the game that they won, in Game 1, Team Liquid still opted into a 4v5 and won that one because they're so far ahead. Here, they're losing and they still opt into 4v5s. They just...
Yeah, that one was a little bit different, but that was because Fenix was so fed, but this time around HuHi was super fed. And this is one of the examples of where it's not only a man advantage, but where you have pressure on the map. For example, if a team's 4-manning one side of the map and they have the jungler on the other, the laner needs to play safe. And this is one of those basic solo queue things that happen that even happen to like the very best of players. But you see that the very top teams, the side that they have pressure on, they play on, and the top laner on the other side, they just back off.
Yeah, and
something that I could have learned myself, but you know what I'm trying to say.
That's all right.
It happens to
That's all right. Yeah, exactly. But I also too want to return to your point about tempo, because it does seem, and it's becoming more and more clear to me, that Team Liquid really only operates with one tempo, right? And a lot of people, you know, we speak all the time about increasing tempo, but sometimes we don't talk about the importance of actually reducing the tempo, right? Taking the tempo down a notch. We've lost a person. How do we slow the game down? Instead, Team Liquid's answer in almost every scenario is to go even faster, is to initiate even harder. And I feel like maybe the whole idea of tempo is maybe a concept that is escaping this somewhat younger roster in comparison to some of the others in the LCS.
And that's one of the things where shot callers are really important, but at the same time, the entire team needs to recognize a guy dead needs to be like, guys, I'm dead, don't fight.
Right.
And that's as simple as that. And if you don't listen to that, then, you know, it's on the other four.
And I actually think it's a good point to mention the youth of the roster. Like, someone like Darius would probably, if he died, was like, instead of tilting like, oh, I just messed up, I just dove this guy and I miscounted my damage.
Right.
That's what they're kind of like stuck on. Better players are going to be like, oh, I died, but hey, it's still fine. Guys on the other side of the map, when I res, we'll do this, that. Instead, I can't imagine that Lourlo was like, really engaged in communication with the team.
You have to always try and make the best decision no matter how sad you are.
I like it. All right. Well, that's a life lesson right there. That's not just a League of Legends lesson. Player of the game going to HuHi in the mid lane. So in contrast to Fenix's performance in game one, HuHi here putting on a little show for himself. We saw a little bit of focus going to that mid lane and him definitely being able to pick up a couple early kills as well as follow that roam on the first initial roam to pick up the 2-for-1 against the Taliyah gank top lane.
Right. I mean, he was down pressure early in the matchup, but once he was able to get a couple kills in his favor, he started really controlling Fenix in the mid and late game portions, and then he actually just played team fights phenomenally. Oh,
there you have it for that. We're moving on to game three. We're swapping sides one last time. We had already talked about how side selection might benefit CLG. We'll see if they have any answers for Team Liquid back on blue side this time around. We're all tied up, so stick around to see if CLG or Liquid can take the series after game three. We're back in just 3.5.